Hello, thank you so much for joining us. We are Nerds of the West, and we have just finished playing Wingspan Asia, the Duet Mode. So now we're going to give you our thoughts so that you can decide if this game is right for you, if it's going to fit into your play group. We are only looking at the 2-player mode. However, this expansion can be added onto the base game and increase players up to 6 and 7 with its new flock mode. So if you want to see that in the future, let us know. We, the people talking here right now, my name is Tom.
I'm Beck.
And we are going to be focusing on our thoughts on this as a 2-player alternative to original Wingspan being played at 2 players. We will say that we were sent this game by Stonemaier Games and their distributor, so thank you very much to them. But we will not let that influence us in any way, and I will say that I, up until now, well, spoilers maybe, have not been the biggest fan of Wingspan. I will start where we normally do with the art. The art in this particular version is gorgeous. Wingspan has always been known for its art, hasn't it, Beck?
Mm-hmm.
We like the birds.
We like the birds. It's all thematic. Like, we're bird watchers, so they're not cartoony. They're not caricatures. They are anatomically and naturally correct versions of the birds, which is, I think, the only way that they could have done it.
But what we're looking at particularly is the new stuff. I don't know my one negative, and I don't know if they could have done it better, but I'm not the biggest fan of the look of this board. It's just a little bit like you comparing it to these boards, which are all big and lush and beautiful and pretty. This just feels very basic. Now it's not cluttered and it's not getting in the way and it's not an eyesore, but I'm used to Wingspan being this big, vibrant, beautiful recreation of reality, and this is, there's no it's a map, but there's no topography, there's nothing interesting going on.
I think for what it is, I think it's the best way that they've done it, or the best way they could have done it, because the idea is that you're tracking birds in a specific habitat, you're tracking birds of a, specific specifications.
All the different nests and all the different grubs
nests,
and all their
how
food.
big they are, their food, the way that they're facing on the cards. It's like you're saying, you expect it.
Just the look of it.
No, you're saying you expect it to be a map. That's what I see.
Okay.
I still see a map in this regard, and so I still think it works.
I'm just comparing it to what is going on that board, on the new Asia side of the board, and it's gorgeous.
Yeah, and I'm not disagreeing with that, but I'm also saying if you made this super involved and super detailed and to the same quality as this, I mean, throwback to the entire time during the stream whenever Tom was saying he was playing something in the forest area and he said he was playing it in the grasslands.
Yeah, but that's just because it's green and I like the word grass.
Anyway, my point is that the idea for this is that it's supposed to be a simple representation of where you have played a bird, and I think it achieves that. And I don't mind that it's busy because it needs to be easy to read.
Oh no, I think it's not busy. It is easy to read, it is functional. I just like the art of Wingspan and thought it could have been prettier. I do like that the boards have 2 sides to them, because if you're playing with the Oceania expansion, there are some options for you. Specifically that you've still got the, nectar down here. So very nice of them to make sure that's all added in as well. The component quality for everything that's new is fantastic, all wood and sustainable and really, really nice. New dice are nice. I understand why they have added this new board instead of the bird feeder, and that is simply because this game is marketed as being playable out of the box, and you could not fit too much more into this box. We got some photos of the how it was all made and packed in, and it is packed tight in here. There is a lot of content packed in to make this playable and give you everything you need right away, which is, as a quick overview, where I think the strengths of this game lie. As an expansion, can't comment on it entirely because I haven't seen it interact with all the other games. I like all the new kinds of birds that we saw, but as a standalone, absolutely wonderful.
I think to comment on your point of its expansion qualities, I think it's just going to be a very literal version of expansion. Like with the Oceania expansion, it added in a little bit of gameplay. I think for this one, because it adds in a 6th and 7th player, and it is a standalone playable version. For those that just want to add extra birds into their existing game, this is really good for that because it does add in a whole new region of birds for you to play with, but it won't add anything gameplay-wise because it's already doing so much to make it 6 and 7 player and to add in that 2-player components. So
I liked a lot of the new birds. I thought having birds that were game end scoring, have birds that were round end points, and having birds that were a little bit of push your luck is exactly what this game needed. Just a few more options to spice your gameplay up. I'm keen to see it with the rest of the expansions.
It would be good to see it with 6 and 7 players, I think. It's hard because, you know, I'd like to play this again with you, probably, or just with anybody else that wants to play Wingspan. But the problem is that you can't mix it in with the rest of your board, and then pull it out for when you want to play the duet version.
They did do a pretty decent job of, you know, here's the little A, but you can just mix it all in with the cards. It doesn't matter what cards you play with. You don't have to stick to the Asia cards to play the duet version.
Actually.
It's just if you only want to do that to keep it limited to what's in the box, which is what they market it as, it's a little bit of a pain.
Okay. To be fair, I completely forgot about that. There's a part of me that's like, you can only use the Asia cards with it. No, you don't have to. You could just pull out a Wingspan deck and go for gold.
The only thing that is different is the map. And I really like the map. I think mechanically it is awesome. My biggest problem with original Wingspan was that there was just one good way to play. Absolutely nail an egg combo, get as many eggs as possible, and take only egg actions in the last round or so. This means that you can get a decent chunk of points from interacting with putting stuff out on the map and putting stuff in certain ways. I think the balance and the meta of that is going to shift as people will do stuff on this side, do stuff on that side, and connect a big contiguous area up. And I love the way that the end round scoring all matters there. So choosing what bird to play and choosing where to put your marker down really changes based on what round you're in.
Yeah, I mean, I lost the game because I couldn't build a contiguous group, and it's just because Tom was able to create literally one of those ones. It's like the Ticket to Ride where you get 3 cards and you just manage to combo them all together.
Yep.
And so you also create Longest Road. So this is very much a case of you were just able to do that before I was. And then I missed, it's entirely possible Tom said it, but I missed the rule where it was you just needed to create your own biggest group for it to count for points. I thought it was just going to be maybe 3 or 4 extra bonus points at the end of the game for whoever had the biggest group. But no, Tom got 9 points on top of my 4 to make him win by 4 points.
Yeah.
So.
The thing that I like there is it's just more ways to score, and there are more ways to interact with everything on the board. And that is what Wingspan needed to me. I don't know if it's going to feel as good playing bigger Wingspan again when it feels like this is a more fleshed out version of it and more interesting to play at 2 players.
I like the fact that with the map it just means that you have to vary your play style. You cannot, and if you choose not to, then hey, guess what? You're not going to be able to build that combo, but it means that you can look at that, you can look at what you're playing, you can look at what you've got in your hand, and you go, cool, how can I make this work together, and how do I have to change what I'm doing? It
also never felt rushed or pushed or you're stretched out, being I need to consider all these different things. No, you're still just playing birds. It's still the right option to just play birds and lay eggs and draw more cards. It's just now you've got, I can also do this. You never push to do this specifically to get that point, because if you're playing a 0-point bird instead of playing a 7-point bird, then it's not necessarily a better move, but it can be. I don't know how I'm going to rate this though, because we rank every single game here that we play at Nerds of the West. We have our lovely Nerds of the West ranking board, and we consider not necessarily if one game is better than another, because you can't do that, but what we would play if given the opportunity. So we need to have a look. If you help me pull this one up. Look at our board.
I will say to, oh my
I'm
goodness.
putting it on these.
That's what I'm trying to do.
Okay.
Like you're putting it on your own ones.
I was like, what? It's on
Instead
there.
of on both
Why
of
are you?
them. It wasn't. It was off.
It felt like it was on. So this is our board, and this is what we're looking at for the year so far. We really haven't played as many games this year as we wanted to, and that's okay.
I was just going to quickly answer a question
Yeah.
in the chat. I think it doesn't matter how many bird cards you have overall. That's why, and it's basically just because, you know,
It's just more options.
it's just different options. Like there's no max number of birds for Wingspan, so just by like mixing in your Asia cards with your other ones, like it doesn't detract or it doesn't add to the original deck you have. And then conversely, by playing it duet, it doesn't actually add anything. It just adds in, you know, Asia birds, but it also adds in a 2-player mode. So like the important thing to note here is you could theoretically play the duet mode with the original Wingspan and it wouldn't affect how you play the game. You could do it with just the Oceania birds and it wouldn't affect how you play the game. And I think that's kind of why I really like it, because what you've got is you've got an expansion that fits in with the normal game really well, but then it adds its own 2-player version to the game that it doesn't matter that you mix all your cards in with your original version of the game to begin with.
It doesn't matter how you play, it's just a new way to interact with the game, and it's a new way that is standalone. You can, if you're only a 2-player couple, if that's all that you game, just pick this up instead of the base Wingspan.
Such a big box.
Yeah. So where are we going to rank it? What are we thinking about how often we would play this cute little 2-player game? Because you're right, I would absolutely play this with you again. Oh, pardon me.
Setup, I think. Yes. Use your words next time. Setup, I think, still kind of has the takes a long time to get ready itis. And it's just because you do still have all the piles of tokens. You do still have all of the decks that need to be shuffled. You have to get boards out. You have to get markets out.
Absolutely a game that could use an insert to help set up.
Yeah, and they do include extra bags in the box. Biodegradable bags, I will
nice.
know. So they're not just plain old plastic. Like it's definitely not as hardcore. It's definitely not as hardcore as some games, but with all the different aspects to it, I do think it's one of those ones where I'd probably be a little bit more hesitant to pull it out, and it's just because like looking at other games on here, notably probably Fight the Blight, because I got a chance to play it when we were in Melbourne, which means I can now say which would I play out of this or Fight the Blight. I would probably play Fight the Blight more,
That's
because
exactly where I was thinking.
while it still has like a bunch of decks, it's just decks.
Yeah.
You just need to separate them. And even then you just stack the box in such a way so that those decks are separate.
For me, 2-player games are always hard to rank because 2-player is such a different experience to 4-player or above. Looking at the games, for me, I would easily play this above all of these regardless, but then you get to Hidden Leaders and Fight the Blight, and that's where I have to consider at a 2-player level which one I prefer. Fight the Blight can be a really fun 2-player game. It's also a lot quicker than this. And for me, a 2-player game that is nice and quick and light and still interesting fits for what I want better than Wingspan Asia does. Wingspan Asia is a really interesting game, but it felt like it went on just a little bit too long for what I personally prefer in a 2-player game. And that's not to say that's a bad thing.
One thing, because I don't disagree with you, but I would actually probably put this above Fight the Blight, and it's just because having played Fight the Blight now, it's very much when it is a 2-player game, it's a quicker game, but it's because there's less gameplay options when it's just 2 people.
It is a different game at 2 players. You haven't played the 2-player version.
I have not, but I think, like at the moment, I can tell you right now that I'm not a big fan of Wingspan Asia because of how long it took. I can tell you right now that's because we were doing it on stream and we had to explain every single thing we were doing every single time we did it. If I were to pull this out at home and play it with you, you would best believe I'm just saying the name of the bird and that's it.
You got to tell me what you're going.
No,
but to me,
it's up to you to figure out what I'm doing.
To me, it sounds like it sits along Fight the Blight very nicely in that area. I'm very keen to show this to some other members of Nerds of the West and get them to give their thoughts, because I think you're right, this can be a game that plays in about 45 to an hour. we just do a gameplay video that goes a little bit longer. So if you want to see that, it is up on YouTube. If you want to see more reviews, they're all down on our channel. We thank you very much for being here. We're going to re-rank this board at the end of the year, and hopefully you are there, and we will catch you next time.
Goodbye.